So we just got a T1N Sprinter. It's a 2006 Dodge Sprinter. And one of the things that I noticed right away is it has the little cigarette lighter, the little 12 volt 12 volt port. But what I want to do is I want to add a USB port so that when I'm driving, I can have my phone charging off of that and I don't have to use an adapter to plug in. These are made by Blue Sea. It's a 12 volt dual USB 4.8. I'm going to take this off and see if I can get this USB configured into here. This little trim piece for the right here for the shifter, you have to kind of pry it up, but in order to get this piece out, I'm actually going to have to put the key to on but not actually start the vehicle up, and then now I can actually move it and I can turn the vehicle back off. So now this is clear, so when I go to pull this panel off, it should be okay. Oh, there's another screw right here. So that's what's holding it on. Look at that, the whole piece comes off. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and unhook these clips here. The dash, and this is what I'm going to try to replace, the cigarette lighter holder. Some of these popped out when I went to take this piece off, so I'll need to find those and put them back. But it looks like it has a ground wire and a power wire, and so we'll go ahead and take those two off. And this is the piece that I'm going to want to replace right here. So I'm going to look at that a little bit and see how I can do that. So one thing I'm noticing is that the back of this cigarette lighter, this 12 volt connector, actually has some tabs on it, on the connector itself. And they're like, I don't know if they use some sort of bonding material, but I'm probably going to have to cut this whole piece out little by little just to get that thing off of there. You know, I cut the tabs off the front here to see if that would loosen it up, but it's pretty sturdy in there. So I'm gonna see what I can do to get that off. Okay, so what I did is I pried this little piece up, and I'm just prying these tabs, and it looks like that's actually loosening this piece up. So I think that's the only way that I'm gonna be able to get it out of there. There we go. There we go. So now we've got it out. Look at that. So it's got a hole here. I'm gonna see what the diameter of that hole is once I try to put the USB connector in. So the way the USB Blue Sea connection is it actually has this ring, so that if you were to put it like on a wall panel or something, you could slide this in and this ring would tighten up to the back of the wall. So I'm going to take this ring off because I don't need this ring on there to put this on, and then I'll put it on the back. The thing I am noticing though, I thought that the USB connector was going to be a little bit bigger than the standard cigarette lighter housing was. So I thought I could drill it out and that there would be no gaps. Unfortunately, there's going to be a gap. I'm going to be able to get this USB connector onto the mounted to the panel. So I'll be able to mount it on here like that. But there's a little gap that's going to be at the top. So I think I'll probably just have it to where the cover is facing up, and you'll close it down like that, but there will be that little square gap. Good thing is that hole is super tight against here. It actually probably needs to be drilled out to slide that in, but I'm actually going to force it in with a, because there's enough gap in there to get it turned in. So I'm gonna get it pushed in, and I'm not even gonna have to drill that. See, it's actually going in there already. Look at that. So now I'll get this part lined up. Top. I'll move this around to the top here, which it kind of covers up that little spot a little bit. You can kind of see that. It kind of covers it up with the little flap that's there. But that'll be our USB connection. Now what I'll do is I'll take the ring that was on the back, and I'm going to slide that ring over, and I'm going to tighten it against there. That way this thing never moves. So now I'm just going to tighten that a little bit more, and that's how it's going to be. It's going to have a little USB connector like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut these two wires, the ground wire and the power wire for that connector that went on the old cigarette lighter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the wires back just enough using this tool. And then there are these Wi-Fi heat shrink connectors. I've been using Wi-Fi a lot in all the builds because they have heat shrink built in to the actual connector. So once I crimp it with the crimping tool, I can actually just heat shrink it, and it's already part of the connector. So here I'll go down to this one, get it right, crimp it. I know that's a good connection. Put this one on. Crimp it. Now I use the heat gun to shrink these on, and I don't have to put a separate heat shrink piece on there. One of the guys on the forum told me about these connectors, and I've been using them ever since. Hadoka guy Tom. So now we'll connect this up. That's the negative. So on the back of the USB connector it shows negative, and this one will be positive. Still a little bit hot. All right, now we can turn the ignition on, and we'll try to see if this thing powers up. So to check it, we're gonna hook in the USB cord. I'm just gonna hook it into my phone. The thing that scares me is that the ignition is not on. The ignition's not on. So that's one thing we might wanna pay attention to, is if you leave this charging, unless there's some sort of relay or something in here that's gonna make the charge stop, it's a hot charge. I mean, it's not, I didn't have to turn on the ignition or anything. Didn't realize that. I would have thought that it would not charge right away until I turned the ignition on, but it is actually charging. So even though I put the USB connector here and I got it all set, you know, the ashtray does already have the 12-volt port in it. So you can always still use that one if you want to plug in something else. So putting that back in, but it actually is still useful. So I'll put this all back together, but this is my solution to having a USB port up here on a 2006 Dodge Sprinter. If you like the videos, like and subscribe.